Welcome back to another episode of the Football Pundits, the Fantasy Premier League edition, which we love to do so much right now. As you can see, Karn's very happy. He had a good score in game week 14, 86 points. His rank is now somewhere about the top 60K. I scored just about slightly above average-ish or average-ish, you could say 69. Just about retained my top 10K rank thanks to Bruno Fernandes, captain. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you. Man, not having Salah is going to be a lot what this episode is going to be about, right? So we will get into that quickly. But in this episode, we will be discussing our picks for Game Week 15, captain, differentials, general transfers, which we are considering. We'll also speak a little bit about double Game Week 19, blank Game Week 18. Not too much though. We will be doing this in bits and pieces till the lead up to the final game week, right? And also, remember that it is a quick turnaround between game week 15 and 16, but we will be doing one more episode right before game week 16. So don't forget to hit subscribe on our channel, like on this video, comment section, hit us up. Happy to get back to you with any transfer tips that you may need. Karn, game week 14, Mo Salah was making me cry on that very first fixture of the game week. I had pretty much given up my top 25K even. Tell me your transfer tips. Let's look at your team. Let's start with your team and see what you have planned for this quick game week turnover. Karn, this is your team. We've discussed it a bit in this last year, but you have that great midfield, right? Salah, Fernandes, De Bruyne, and Grealish. What are you thinking?
Oh man, the joy from game week 14's big score and moving into the top 1%, as I like to call it, and not top 60K. I like to say top 1%. It just sounds cooler. Quickly turned with the Chilwell injury. And I was still, you know what, we'll ride it. I'll see what the press conference is. But the price drop killed me. At one point I was at 6, and then suddenly it was 5.8. And from 6.1 initially, which was the difference. And the 0.3 just completely screwed up my strategy. The idea was for me to get Mahrez out 2 weeks in a row. He's done absolutely nothing. He's played Carabao Cup midweek as well now full. I don't think he'll feature on the weekend. So the idea was to get Grealish and him out because Grealish has a fixture turn after Crystal Palace. Bring in Son and bring in someone from West Ham or Wolves or Southampton, depending on how their players are doing. But now what I've done is I've taken Chilwell out for Deer. I would have ideally gotten Reece James, but he's injured as well. Chilwell and James both possibly out for the next 2 games, as Lampard has confirmed, for those of you who haven't caught up on that yet. Mm-hmm. So confusion every year, which is why also now, and we'll talk about it later, but I'm sort of keeping my plans for game week 18. I know I was saying bench boost earlier, and I'm still thinking of that, but I'm now a little open to sort of change that around. And as I said last week, it's important not to lose sight of the weeks leading up to double game week and the weeks after, just for that 1 week. So I'm going to try and build up from there. But that's the overall strategy. I'm thinking Salah has to have and figure out how to bring in Son next week. And in a way, the Chilwell injury has made it slightly easier because I've bought a cheaper defender now. So I've saved some money there as well. So it might help me bring in Son for Mahrez with not that big a downgrade on Grealish, and maybe I have some money for Brewster up to a Welbeck leading up to my bench boost.
Yeah, fair enough. And you can see, looking at the structure of your team, obviously we will be discussing the double game week 90, like we said, later. But if I look at your bench right now, apart from Steer, you have you have 3 players who will ideally be starting to have a good balance. Blank game week is more of the concern, obviously, but we will get to that in a bit. I like your midfield, like I said, Karn, and I'll tell you why. And I'm going to go on to my team now, and you'll see the difference in why it's important for me to make those bold steps in this before this game week. Now, Karn, looking at my midfield, obviously I also have Chilwell as well. Interesting choice of words there. I will be taking him out. Now, you said it will be interesting because this is what I'm considering, right? Yes, Chilwell being injured is kind of a boon, you can say, of sort, because that gives you an opportunity to downgrade to a budget midfielder like I have anyway been using all season, who have been delivering. But now is where people have gotten the likes of Robertson or getting them in or getting Trent in slowly into their team. Robertson has a price tag of 7.3. So you kind of little worry about the fact that looking at the prime fixtures Liverpool have, managers are looking to target at least two Liverpool players, right? So that's a worry, which is why I'll give you my first option of my first transfer pick for this game week. I'm considering very seriously taking out Bruno Fernandes along with the likes of Chilwell because I have two free transfers. I banked a transfer last week. Chilwell, Fernandes out, one of Sufal or either one of the Leeds defenders in to get in Salah for Bruno Fernandes is what I'm thinking right now. And the second option is if I somehow decide to maybe either bravely or very foolishly not take in Salah again, just simply downgrade Chilwell to a Man City defender and bank that second again, that one more free transfer for game week 16 quick turnaround and use that to make two changes then. Ideally, in that case, I'll probably maybe looking at that time downgrading Calvert-Lewin. He's not going to be my captain. This is just a team of set and come. And then maybe looking at the likes of Justin if he fits in my team. Grealish would be on his way out. So I think those are my two plans, Fernandes, Chilwell out. Budget midfielder about West Ham or Leeds in. And Salah in for Fernandes. That's what I'm thinking. See, that's where I told you your
Kane
midfield
and Son
is
to
great.
stay, I'm guessing.
Okay, like I said, if I didn't have to take out Chilwell, right, what happens now is I take out Chilwell, I downgrade. I upgrade Son, I'm not going to get Mane or Salah. Do I downgrade? Do I go for Zaha versus Aston Villa? Could be a good pick. But it's just, like I told you, I find it right now, especially with now the fixtures of Spurs finally turning back from 16, I think it makes sense to do this move for 1 week either.
Yeah.
No matter what Zaha's return could possibly be against Villa, even though Villa have been tight. So I think that's where I am stuck right now. Rest of the team has a good balance to it. I think I'll leave Taylor in because I never know Burnley shutout Leeds is capable. My defense is a concern, which is why I want to take out Chilwell, obviously, or was going to happen anyway. Justin regretted not keeping him in for Tottenham. I think I'm going to consider leaving him in for United and take the lick on one defender for this week. Other priorities are more important for me. I also have my wild card, which I'll be using before next game week. So, yeah.
So you're basically now the two free transfers up just for this game week.
Yeah.
So makes sense to get Bruno out for now, just this game week, and then when you play the wild card, you'll figure out the entire team out. Yeah, I think that's a good position to be in. I also just want to do a quick mention on what Chilwell replacements we're looking at, because you mentioned City and I mentioned, and I've already gotten Eric Dier. I'd messaged Danny before we were shooting, dude, what are the changes? And actually, during the Carabao Cup matches, that what are the changes I should do? I'm thinking between Cancelo and Dier and Zuma, which I think are the three most obvious options. The most obvious is upgrading up to Robertson, but that's a lot of money to bring in. So if that's not happening, if you're going the lower trajectory, my thought was just that City rotation is a bit tricky. Chelsea fixtures aren't that great, whereas Spurs fixtures are great. I'm guessing Mourinho's going to want to keep a tight ship over these fixtures coming in. Dier's played all 90 minutes of every game but one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
5.0 clean sheet points. Not very attacking, but clean sheet points. Why not?
Yeah, like I said, I think we can link this up to our defensive talk later where we can elaborate as to why we did this, right? But you had a very fair point about Mourinho and Dyer. I think that's nailed on. And as per his price as well, definitely worth it because he's been taking a few free kicks. You never know when that little extra edge comes in over the busy festive period. Okay, so Karn, before we go into our position-wise talk, right? Let's get to what everyone really also wants to know. Let's look at the double game week and the blank game week. Now, if you had to ask me blindly, knowing what we know now, with the permutation combinations of at least two more double game weeks coming on, I wasn't considering the free hit anyway. I don't think the free hit would still make sense right now, just because if I look at the fixtures of game week 18, the ones that the teams who are playing, nothing is really tempting me to say I can go for three of these players. apart from Man City maybe, that who are going to get me those points. I rather risk maybe taking a -4 and then switching it around a bit, but playing with just 8 or 9 players in my team, than make sure I have a full playing 11 and a bench. Because, like I said, I do have my first wildcard though, which I will be using before the deadline, before it goes away, it elapses, to make a decent enough team for me to make only a very few tweaks for double game week 19. And game week 19 would ideally, I think, best if I would bench boost. But that could change if there are player injuries and unforeseen circumstances, because it's a tight fixture. Muscle injuries are there. That could very well change. I could end up just triple captaining, but the preference is bench boost, wildcard to tee up to game week 17, 18, 17, 19, sorry, and 18 maybe winging it. I don't know about free hit. I'm not convinced. No.
Yeah, man, I agree. I'm thinking on the free hit. I'll see, as you said, I'm going to wing it because I said this, here's my idea. There are 3 double game weeks going to come for sure. I think 19 is one, around 26 is when they're saying the second double game week is, and then 33, depending on the change of the Carabao Cup fixtures and FA Cup fixtures, right? So if I'm playing a chip, I ideally want to play it when most players are playing rather than when least players are playing, right? Because, as you said, it's not like there's any standout fixture in the blank game week which is screaming for, loading up on a couple of teams or 3 teams, so I'm going to save it. So between the 3 game weeks, I'm going to play the triple captain, bench boost, and free hit, ideally on the double game weeks. And it makes most sense to capitalize when more teams are playing and you have a bigger option and you have a wider spread of odds, right? You can gamble a bit as well. You're bound by a few players. I don't think it gives you that much edge. So I agree with you there. I'm blank game week, not very convinced. And especially for you, if you're playing your wild card now, it just makes sense to hopefully get that double game week in with a bench boost.
Yeah, and and just to maybe give more context to that, so that we can wrap up our discussion and move on. You look at like I said, you look at the teams that are playing, okay, in game week 18. It's Arsenal, the fixtures, it's Arsenal, Palace, Villa, Spurs, City, Brighton, Wolves, Everton, Sheffield, Newcastle. I can see myself maybe, like I said, in the coming week or 2 or with the wildcard trying to get in maybe a Sheffield defender in the back, leave him on my bench. Callum Wilson with the shitty fixtures that, apologize for that, but the really crappy fixtures that they're going to get right now, I don't even want to maybe take a chance of downgrading him and keeping in my team, right? Everton, I guess I'll just keep holding on to DCL as long as I can. Wolves, maybe Kilman gets me more starts. City, KDB will be in my team around then. Spurs, like I said, will be around since game 16. So I see myself already having 6, maybe 7 players if I don't take out Grealish after his fixtures turn from next week. But yeah, like you said, right, it's not convincing that I can see so many goals up. Maybe City, Brighton, you don't know. Jesus comes and scores a hat-trick finally, and Sterling finishes all the crosses KDB puts in. But the City side you've seen right now, not the most convincing that they will bang in those 5 goals, right? So yeah, I think that's where I stand right now. I think that's where Karn stands right now. I don't know. We will give you more in our next episode, which will be, I think, released on around Monday noon or Monday evening.
Yeah.
Karn, let's go now.
I think the idea between both of us is, just to wrap up the thought, I think the idea between both of us is, plan. Think about some players who have that blank and double game week fixture depending on what you want to do, but don't set it in stone because a lot of things are changing. You don't know if City suddenly start showing off. If Aguero is firing by then, you don't know. There's a lot of permutation combinations. Some players might get injured, so don't be flexible. Just try and be flexible. Don't be rigid with your plans.
Yeah, I mean, have a small outline in the back of your mind about which team has the best fixtures. Like I said, there are teams like, for example, double game week 19. Liverpool do play twice, right? United play twice. There are players you can target over there. So
West Ham have a great couple of fixtures. Yeah?
West Ham have a great line, which is why Sufal was a pick for me right now as well in this game week. Maybe consider getting him in, right? Great run of fixtures. But yeah, going into a position-wise talk now. We'll talk about midfield because it's so important, right? Because we've been talking about this Bruno, KDB, Salah, Son, Salah, Bruno, KDB, Grealish, and so vice and versa. Now, my strategy was this whole time, Karn, in and out with KDB and Salah. It was working well for me till I didn't do it last week. Man, Crystal Palace, whatever. And we spoke about this in the last episode. You are always just one game week away from Liverpool defenders getting an assist each and a clean sheet, and Salah just destroying you, right? That's exactly what happened in this game week itself. So now, I think what I was on maybe is the right thing to do. Instead of being so fixed about having all of these three in your team at any given time, maybe Salah is more nailed on now after what he did last week. I think the option should be to be flexible and keep going in and out with them maybe when the fixtures come and go. So this game week, looks likely I will be going without Bruno and going for Salah. Karn, what do you think? Looking at the fixtures coming.
Salah nailed in, man. No doubt. I said it last week. FPL team of 11 players. Spend all your thought on 10. The 11th has to be Salah, and if you captain him for all 38 game weeks, you're still going to do well regardless of his fixtures. Salah definite have. The tricky part is KDB not firing that much for sure. That does make things slightly dicey, but in the end, I think it's about the underlying stats aren't that great for City either. They have reduced, if you compare the first 7 games of the season and 7 after. Shots, chances created, shots on target, big chances, all of that is more or less reduced. So it's not that big. But the problem is that City, just like as we fear with the Liverpool assets, it just takes that one game for them to just switch it on and have a 5-0, 6-0 out of nowhere, right? But if there's a nailed on starter, it's Salah. Next week onwards, Son. KDB, not that convinced as of now, and I think Bruno have to have him. Even though now we're seeing United start scoring without Bruno in all of them. Yes, he got a good haul last week, but they scored 6. And the week before that, again, when they scored, Bruno wasn't involved in all goals. So Bruno's not being part of all goals, but United are scoring more, or at least they're looking to score more. So I think Salah and Bruno are sort of must-haves in teams.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I was so wary, because Bruno was the one who saved me last week as captain. When I mean save me, I'm not leaving it down to luck. Bruno was captain for a reason. Like I said, we discussed this in the last episode. If you have Salah, it's Salah, but for me, it would have been Bruno because Bruno was Son. Obviously, thank God I didn't go for Son because I didn't see the Leicester result coming. But Bruno was pipped to do well, right? Because we saw it. We knew those pockets of space would open up for him and he would thrive, and he did. He could have had so many more assists. He could have had all those assists KDB's not got in the last 3 weeks in that extra 30-minute phase in the second half. But yeah, also the thing about KDB, Karn, you rightly mentioned, he's been underscoring, right? I had Raheem Sterling over KDB because differential and Sterling being the number 9 for the longest time. Since I took out Raheem Sterling, he scored 31 points in the last 4 or 5 game weeks. KDB scored 26. So that move didn't work out, I would say, too much for me either. But logically, De Bruyne would be the one to have because he was on pens as well. Which is why managers are still find it so hard to let him go. Ownership has dropped to 25%. But, you always risk not having him at the wrong time just with Salah, right? So Newcastle home, Everton away, tough fixtures, you could see City winning. Chelsea away maybe is the one there. But then there's Brighton, Palace, West Brom, Sheffield, Burnley. I would hold him for these fixtures. It's so tough, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that I tell you why I'm so confused. Son doesn't go out anymore.
No.
That means eventually when I want to get Bruno back in for the game week after, it has to be for Harry Kane. Or it has to be KDB again, like you said. It is going to be KDB, unfortunately, or most likely. Because Bruno is just still too explosive a player to not have along with the likes of Salah. So that is interesting times ahead. Interesting to also note, though, that De Bruyne plays in game week 18. Man City play, they have a fixture. Yes, double game week is the player to consider, but players like Bruno and Salah and De Bruyne sometimes could just give you those digit hauls in one game week that others don't give you over 2, right? Tough times ahead, but this will be made easier, the midfield discussion, once we downgrade Grealish, which I think should come looking at the run that he has, which is Chelsea, United, Tottenham, Everton. Not the easiest run. I think downgrading Grealish there may open up some leeway, but I doubt it. I think it's going to be very tough for you people to have the likes of Son, Bruno, KDB, if they don't downgrade your Vardys and Kanes to a cheaper mid. Okay, talking about downgrading, like I spoke about with Grealish Karn also, there are the likes of Zaha. He's looking a little fixture not dependent right now. Villa, Leicester, Sheffield, Arsenal, not the worst fixtures, and then Man City 19 is a dicey one. Zaha remains an option, right? Against Liverpool, yes, they got trampled 7-0, but it could have been so different. They could have been 2-1 up in the first half itself, right? Just not clinical enough. Zaha is an option. Who else do you think you consider, Jurgen?
So for me, I'm looking at West Ham assets because their fixture run is great. They have Brighton at home, Southampton away, Everton away. Not the easiest, but also not the toughest in terms of getting a goal. And then game week 19 is probably the best fixtures of the lot, right? Burnley and West Brom at home. The problem is they've just sort of stopped scoring now. With no Antonio, they are struggling. They are getting the odd game where they're pressing, they're attacking. They could have honestly got results against Chelsea, but Chelsea just hung on and then they just swinged it completely in the last few minutes, right? Uh, Bowen is showing a lot of promise, but he's just not getting the returns. He had 1 assist in his last 4 games. Uh, yes, tough fixtures with Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Leeds, and United. Not the easiest fixtures there, but just 1 assist, not very convincing. Although if there is a standout pick, it's probably Bowen or Souček from their West Ham team that I'm going to look at in the short term. The alternate option, if you want to keep a Villa asset and go cheaper, is El Ghazi, who's just got fire suddenly, right? 16 shots on target, I believe, in the last 2 game weeks. So absolute man in form, man looking to score on penalties as well. So that's a good one to look at if you want Villa assets for sure. Although the fixtures, I don't want to look at it. Eventually, before the double game week, as I said last week, Wolves assets, someone like a Neto or Podence, but bad fixtures right now. And just a final shout to James Ward-Prowse. That is one that I might actually go for. Southampton are still doing well. They are getting the odd one here, and he's on set piece duties as well. Why not?
So I am worried about Southampton, Karn, and I'll tell you why. They have Romeu missing for the coming game against Fulham.
Yeah.
Danny Ings is out again. They're not
Vestergaard
sure
is out
about
again.
Westergaard. He has some fluid in his knee, might not play. So they have the worries there. Che Adams, I think, is overdue a rest, right? So I really wanted McCarthy for these 2 games. I'm like, yeah, I do see him keeping clean sheets. I'm a little worried about it now, which is why I don't know. Even Armstrong might not be playing. So all the creative then outlet would come on Theo Walcott and James Ward-Prowse. Maybe they can come up against Fulham, but Fulham do look resurgent on their own. Not going to be easy for me, maybe considering it. I think instead, if you do or if you must once again look at players, and I know I'm going to repeat this for the 3rd time in a row, I still think like having the likes of a Glitch at 5.5 or Harrison with the way Leeds have been playing at 5.4, Burnley, West Brom, Tottenham, Brighton, Southampton, Newcastle, not the worst fixtures coming up for them, right? Which is why I would say keep that in, wrap that up. Glitch is on penalties as well, right, Karn? So could just work out in terms of a good player coming off the bench for you, especially with the random rotation that could come in over the next couple of games. Moving on to strikers now, because we're talking about making space in our midfield once again. Let's start off with DCL, if we must. He's got through the last couple of fixtures with an assist. The most frustrating yellow card ever happened when he was seriously against Arsenal. But you know what? He's got just about those returns. And people will say, no, but at 7.6 or 7.9 now he's still expensive when you're the likes of Watkins and Bamfords, etc., right? But he's not that expensive still, right? For a 7.9 player to keep getting you those 5-6 points. I know it's not the best. But then is that a case, Sir Karn, where finally you're like, you know what? After Sheffield, you let go of DCL, downgrade to a 6-ish defender, striker, sorry. And that's how you make up that extra room to make sure you can hold on to De Bruyne, Fernandes, and Salah in your team. Or you rather hold to DCL and move on to the likes of Kane and Vardy and downgrade them.
Yeah, I'm thinking hold on DCL. He's 61% owned. and he's playing in a blank game week. I think just holding on to him makes sense. Yes, if you need to get him out to make room for the likes of Harry Kane, who has a great picture, and then yes, then Harry Kane over DCL for sure. But in general, he's giving me returns each week. Yes, I'd rather have goals from a striker than assists, but it's something, right? And when you have the likes of, say, a Wilson or a Bamford, there are games where they don't give you anything. So I think over the course of time, it sort of balances out, and not having Dominic Calvert-Lewin when he has such high ownership can sort of hurt you. So, and he's not that expensive. So my only thing is, why not? Doesn't make. If he was probably like 9.5 and he's only giving me assists, then yes. But for this price, especially if you already have him, if you're looking to get him in, then I might say differently, because the price has risen a lot and stuff. But if you have him, you've probably got him on a bargain. You lose value on taking him out. Just hold on to him.
Okay, and if we're looking at player strikers in that range again, Che Adams is someone we've spoken about in the past. We spoke about him right now. Fixtures aren't the worst, obviously. He has been doing so well in link-up play, even with the likes of Walcott, right? In the absence of Ings. Good player to have. Still not the highest ownership. Could get you those returns in before you decide to free hit or use your bench boost or whatever you would be going ahead with in game week 19. Not a bad option at all, right? That opens up funds for you in midfield, like I said. Now, Karn, big one. Kane, Vardy, Aguero, Firmino, even Tony Martial. There's a case where United, with Martial doing well now, you could get him in for the likes of Vardy or Kane. But then again, look at Kane's fixture, the turning again, right? 2 blanks, scored in the midweek against Stoke in the Carabao Cup. Tough one. Again, tough decisions coming all over.
I honestly don't think it's that tough. I think if Kane, if you can get him, because of the amazing fixtures they have. After that, Vardy. Martial, very inconsistent. We saw the Carabao Cup now. He got a goal and an assist, but you saw the performance. It wasn't the best performance. He was struggling still. He was a little leggy.
But he got rest.
He wasn't
the important
the
thing is
sharpest.
he got the rest, though. The other worry about the
He
likes
got
of
rest, but
Bruno played for full 90. De Bruyne got the rest, right? So I'm looking at the players getting rest in the midweek also.
No, I mean, they're getting rest, but is he still the sharpest on the field? I don't think so. So am I going to spend 8.7 on someone like that? I might work out eventually, but I think if I'm just looking at it logically, just objectively, I don't think he's there. Like, the eye test has not been passed. Like, the assist he got was he just passed to Cavani, who got a fantastic shot off, and the goal that he got was just Everton absolutely tired and won right at the end. Right? I don't think it's going to be too many of those, because he's just not looking that clinical yet. He's not looking himself as he did the end of last season. Firmino, yes, he's looking slightly sharper, but even last season, for the course of the season, he wasn't a great striker option, and he's got returns now. So again, for me, it's not a consistent pick to have. If you want to go a differential pick, then definitely looks like good option. If you can't bring in Salah, if you don't have that option, then yes, Firmino. But if you have Salah already, I'm not looking at Firmino that much. Vardy or Kane, the easy ones for me.
You would still consider upgrading your defense to Robertson or Trent over Firmino. I think the way you are
Yes.
going about it. Fair enough.
Yeah,
So Kane,
if I have the money there, I'd downgrade, have a DCL, and then pump up to Robertson or Trent.
Right. So looking at the way it is, Kane nailed on, Martial maybe not, Cavani again outside mention. Not seen too much of him getting those goals, but over the fixture list that's piling up, I don't know if he'll start all the games. He could come off the bench in a few, like he did against.
And he has a pending ban on his head. We don't know how that's going to go, so he won't be a long-term signing anyway. So
yeah, I think if at all, he'll be a fix just for 15, 16, 17, and 18, if I'm not mistaken. I think when it comes to the double game week 19, he could be already on his.
No, I think 17 is
17,
where it is,
United
because
don't
I think
play
his
18.
ban
Yeah,
comes into like third or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so till game week 17. So that's for like 2-3 weeks. Not a guaranteed start in the Premier League.
Yeah, fair enough. And now the likes of Jamie Vardy. Good good couple of games for him. Was doubtful, but as of the time we are shooting this episode, the injury doubt has been removed. Um, good haul against Brighton. Surprise loss to Everton. Destroyed Tottenham. I mean, that guy's a conundrum in itself. 10.2. United at home for them. Tough fixture for United for sure. But then they have Crystal Palace, Newcastle, blank, Southampton. It's not. I mean, I know we spoke about Kane, okay, but it's not like these fixtures are really bad. I know they're not consistent, but Crystal Palace, Newcastle, you see goals there.
Yeah, which is why I said like Vardy is a pick for me. If you look at forward, Vardy is a pick for me. The home game is where the problem is. Like Leicester have not been good at home. They've struggled at home, and we've seen in the past they sort of start struggling around Christmas. This is where generally we saw last season there were hopes on all non-Liverpool fans that Leicester can start doing something and maybe push Liverpool, and this is where the season started to fall. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But as of now, Kane number one, Vardy number two forward pick in that premium bracket for me easily. Again, form is there, fixtures aren't too bad. Yes, this week at home to United isn't the greatest because Leicester's home form is not that great. United's away form is absolutely incredible. But after that, looks like a decent one. And United, it's not like their away form has been that they're still conceding. And if there's anyone who's going to get that one or two goals for Leicester, it could be Vardy. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think Vardy is an easy pick.
Okay, Kaun, so let's finally move on to our defensive picks. And instead of just, we spoke about a bit during our transfer strategy and during the course of this episode. So we'll keep it tight. Obviously, if you're taking Chilwell out, not risking him, keeping in your game week team for this one. Karn mentioned upgrade to Robertson if your team is set elsewhere and money in the bank because Liverpool have great fixtures coming up. The way you see it right now. Trent could be more of a differential there in that side because he's still on 14% of the managers, obviously. But Robertson is about 21%. Great fixtures, like I said, they have West Brom, Newcastle, Southampton in the next 3 before the blank in 18. Matip outside chance, cheap entry into that Liverpool defense if you're looking at just clean sheets and prefer balancing out your strike force and your midfield. And if you're downgrading from Chilwell, we spoke about the likes of Sufal, Cresswell if you don't have them. West Ham have good fixtures coming up over the festive run and into the double game week as well, right, Karn? Any other defensive pairing that stands out for you?
Nah, this week there's no great fixture as such. The one that's screaming out obviously Liverpool versus West Brom. We've already covered that. Everton away to Sheffield United. Everton themselves, the defense is not that great. I don't see any standout picks in that defense. So yeah, I think we're covered for this week. In terms of, I already shared my thoughts on City assets versus Chelsea assets versus Spurs assets when we are doing our team reveal. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Like you said, no point. We've discussed the City bit as well. Ruben Diaz, one of Kern's picks, so over there. And in budget picks, you then have again Charlie Taylor. We spoke about Burnley in our last episode. So I think that's a wrap on defense because we've like outdrawn it over the last few episodes. Now moving on to differentials, Kern. Tough-ish one actually for me for this game week. And I'm looking at the likes of Villa playing Palace there. No differential really stands out for me for either of those teams. You could see a scoring fixture. Leeds Burnley again looks tempting, but not. I think if again I had to look at a differential, it would be Bobby Firmino. If you want to get him in for this week, for the likes of a Harry Kane or Vardy, only because the fixtures that they're playing, Wolves and United, possibly could be no goals or maybe just one goal. Firmino, Liverpool looking very explosive. West Brom, right? Ownership is there. Everything works out for me. So I would say, yeah, I think, Firmino it is for me. 4.3% on.
Yeah, my pick is Eric Dyer. I already said good fixtures for Spurs. 4.8% ownership. Mourinho is going to try and shut shop now over the Christmas period. So,
Okay, now let's look at our captain picks. De Bruyne plays Newcastle. Bruno plays Leicester. Salah plays West Brom. I think
Mo Salah.
Mo Salah is, I think there's no doubt there, right? I think you just go Salah and out right there. Not much to discuss. But secondary captain pick, I would still say KDB over Bruno this week. What about you?
Yeah. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, chef away. Secondary captain pick for me.
And if you had to look at a differential captain, would it be Grealish versus Palace?
I'm not very convinced there, to be very honest. After such a game, 7-0, the players will just want to shut shop. I think they probably done a lot of defensive drills this week, Palace. I'm sticking with Calvert-Lewin, honestly. I'm a secondary captain. Salah first captain, and Calvert-Lewin is a differential one.
Okay, that is a wrap up for this episode. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. For your benefit, as always, you keep time stamping these episodes so you can pick up what you really are looking for. We will be doing another episode before Game Week 16, even though there's a quick turnaround time. And we'll have more for you on your strategizing for the Game Week 18 and 19. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Subscribe to our channel. Hit like on our videos. Hit us up on Twitter, on Instagram, in the comment section on YouTube. And we hope you have a very good game week. Best of luck and Merry Christmas, more importantly.
Merry Christmas, guys. Best of luck.